Welcome to the Soul Gym Podcast, where each week we explore the connection of mind, body, and spirit towards soulful living. I'm your host, Reverend Darrell Jones. It is my joy and honor to be with you on this journey. Let's get into the practice. Hello, and welcome back to the Soul Gym Podcast. My name is Reverend Darrell Jones. It is my joy to spend a few moments with you working out in the Soul Gym, getting our mind, getting our body, getting our spirit connected, and living a soulful life. It is the beginning of 2025. We are into the second week of January, and we continue the conversation on visioning. That is the focus for the Soul Gym community for the month of January, is visioning. This practice, it's in chapter 7 of the book Soul Gym. It is one of the core foundational practices to being a Soul Gym practitioner. Not that you have to do all of the practices in the book, but in terms of the invitation to live life fully connected to mind, body, and spirit, visioning is a practice that gets us into a space of listening, not just with the intellect, not just listening with our ears, not just listening with our eyes, but listening with our internal vision, our internal awareness. And so it's this multi-dimensional way of being in the experience of who you are. One of the key sentences that it's the only one that well, not the only one that I have underlined, but the one that I have underlined for teaching, is visioning is all about opening up to reveal something deeper within us than what we may know or even understand on the surface level of our experience and consciousness. This practice is designed to open us up to move outside of our understanding, to embrace qualities and aspects, insight, guidance, and awareness that is not necessarily completely understood. And I think this is one of the more challenging aspects to the visioning practice. In our modern world that is very data driven, that is very linear, that is very based in output and outcomes, which is not a bad thing to say, but that is where we put all of our attention most of the time. This practice of visioning invites us to let go of outcome for a moment. And as opposed to life, God, good, enough, whatever, being quantified somehow in an outcome outside of us, we pause and redirect our attention inward and ask these questions that may give some sort of guidance to the external experience, that may give some sort of um, clarity to things to do, but it's based upon some sort of internal awareness, internal knowing, and an internal vision. So these questions, there's 5 questions. And if you missed out, I'm sorry you couldn't join. We had a wonderful visioning workshop on January 4th, where we had a good lesson around the whole process of visioning. And then we went into a nice extended, almost 30-minute guided visioning meditation practice. And then we had an opportunity to unpack it for those attendees. Stay tuned for more opportunities to do it, but please know that if you are interested in doing a visioning for yourself personally, it's something that we can do in a private session as well. I see people one-on-one. That is the basis and the fundamental place that I came into this work, was working and coaching with individuals one-on-one in spiritual direction. And one of the many tools, techniques, practices that we use in those one-on-one sessions is visioning. So if this is something that you're like, oh man, I missed the workshop, really would have been nice, connect with me and we can do a private session. So the focus of today's podcast is on the second question. in the 5 questions that we ask. And that is, what is it that I must release to better be able to step into the vision for this year, for this lifetime? And I think this is such a really important question to ask. There's always challenges with anything that we do, right? It's one of the principles, I think, of spiritual living is that nothing is inherently good or bad. It just is, and how we use it can kind of make it better or worse for us. So this question of what is it that I must release is really, really good for us. But if we don't hold it the right way, it could be destructive or at least deterring. And the way that it has been deterring for me in my practice, and the way that I show up in terms of my personality is when I was kind of young or green in my spiritual learning, there was a part of me that felt like I had to throw everything away of who I was, that there wasn't anything about me that really was worthy of being kept. We'll explore that more next week, or in the next episode. Um, but to recognize that there are things in our life, whether they be people, behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, internal processes, external processes. There's some things in our life that have served their time and need to be let go of. They need to be released or maybe refashioned. But the bottom line is that we need to make space for the new elements of this vision to come forward. And the way that we do that is by releasing, by letting go, by softening, by surrendering, by removing, by pushing to the side. But it's not all of who we are, just aspects. And so in this question, we ask ourselves, what is it that I ideally am being asked to release to make way for this vision, this high vision for my life this year? Think of it a little bit like your closet, or a bookshelf, any place where you're kind of filled to capacity, if you will. If you want to get some new clothes, or you want to change things out for a season, or you want to get some new books, you may have to take some things and get rid of them to make space. You can always cram more stuff in there, but what I have found is when I do that, I forget things that are there, and then whether it's new or old, they just kind of get lost. And so there's only a handful of things that I might be grabbing at the front of the closet that I use regularly, or there's only a handful of books that I go to regularly. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the challenge is that we've got this depth of possibility in our closets and in our on our bookshelves. But if they're too jammed, if it's too cluttered, it's hard to remember and to re-engage some of those things. So when we make space, when we open up and release some things, we can actually have room to explore. There's more room to grow. There's the opportunity for new patterns, for new behaviors, for new thoughts, for new anything to come to light. But if it's too tight in there, it's going to be really hard to either bring something in new, or even if we do bring something in, it may just get lost in the shuffle. So that's the whole point and purpose of this second question. What is it that I must release? We first start off by saying, what's the highest vision? And we make ourselves open and receptive to anything and everything, right? We do our best to stop and pause the natural tendency to edit and to question and to dissect information and data as it comes to us. And we make an agreement with ourselves, envisioning that we are not here to edit, we are here to receive. So whether it is an image in our mind, whether it is a thought, whether it is a felt sense in our body, there's been times when I've done visioning where I hear a certain sound, like it's just, a sound that I hear outside, and it seems significant. So I just, capture, write down a bird call or a honking horn or whatever it may be. But I don't try to make sense of it at that time. I'm just trying to capture, just trying to receive and hold all the different levels and dimensions of information that are coming my way or coming your way in this practice. So that's where we start. Just opening up and tell me something good, God. Tell me something good, universe. What's the highest vision for my life? And we aren't negating our individual wants and desires and goals that we may already have. Most of us have tons of goals already, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're not throwing, that's not what we're trying to release necessarily. We're just saying beyond my intellectual cause and effect mind, if then sort of thing, conditional thinking, what else is there? But when we ask that question, we've got to make room for it. And that's why we follow up with the second question of what is it that I must release? What is getting in the way of my vision? What might be clogging the artery of connection to the Holy Spirit? What might be stifling my capacity to move around and actually co create something with life that has yet to be experienced by myself? So when we move these things out of the way, when we make space, then something can flow in. And that is it. That is the biggest intention behind this question. It is not meant to be a shaming question of what's wrong with me. What do I need to heal? Although it may point to something that needs healing, but we're not asking this question from a judgmental space, from a space of condemnation. It is simply asking what is no longer serving me in my life that I can let go of, that I can release, that I can surrender away out of my experience so that I can make way for something new. This is similar to some other question work that I think, at least I've used over the years. What can I start doing? Right. So oftentimes there's something we need to start doing that we've never done before to help us move into a new space. But we also have to ask ourselves, what should I stop doing? What is it that I'm doing right now that is actually not helping me move forward? This is the same sort of thing. What must I release in order to create greater space for this high vision to come into fruition in 2025? That is what this question is all about. And so I will invite you to just take a deep breath in right now. And as you exhale, if it feels good to close the eyes, do so. And ask yourself this question. What is it that I must release in order for this vision, this high, high vision from my life to come to pass? What is seeking to be let go of? What is no longer serving? And take a moment to just listen. Don't try to uncover rocks in your mind and in your consciousness. Your work right now is to listen to what comes up into your awareness when we ask the question, what is it for me? What is mine to release, to let go of, to make room for this high, high vision in 2025? Nice slow breath in, bringing your hand up to your heart and exhaling, letting some gratitude come into your awareness. Just gratitude for this practice and your willingness to listen and open your eyes whenever you're ready. That's just one little component, part of the larger visioning process. Please let me know if you would like to engage in the full one. I'd love to be your host to help co-create and curate a beautiful space for you to be in the practice. And know that this isn't something that you only do at the beginning of the year. I said this at the end of the workshop today. Sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves thinking that, oh my gosh, I've got to get this right. We think everything is a performance that we have to do right or wrong, good or bad. And so there can be a little bit of pressure around the visioning experience of like, I got to get it right. I got to make sure I get the right information. You're always going to get the right information. The actual process of the vision revealing itself is not done in a 30-minute meditation or over a workshop of 90 minutes. It is happening day by day by day. The vision is revealing itself over the year. However, when we pause and check in a couple of times, and in particular, maybe quarterly, we have the opportunity to realize that our vision refines itself, right? It isn't static. Just like anything else in the universe, one of the biggest principles that are explored in any philosophical tradition is that the constant is change, right? So along with that, our vision changes. It doesn't mean that the theme, the overarching idea, the over maybe goal that's connected to the vision, all of a sudden gets thrown out the window when we pick something up that's new. It just means that it's morphing, right? That it's rolling down the hill just like a snowball, and it's accumulating some more information and experience. And as a result, that snowball of your vision is a little bit bigger. It actually contains a lot more. And so to pause and check in and ask yourself these questions again a little bit later in the year, maybe at the end of March, the beginning of April. I love the idea of when we move into the spring season. It's another great time to do this practice. Stay tuned for an opportunity to do that in another workshop. But know that you haven't missed anything if you didn't do the workshop. You can do this on your own if you go to revdarrelljones.com to the extended practices of Soul Gym from my book. There are a handful of free recordings there that take you through some of the practices, one of them being a visioning. It's only about 10 minutes. You don't get the benefit of kind of unpacking it with me or with others as we did in the workshop today. But if you just need to get into the practice because you are aware that you need to listen to something greater than just how am I going to figure this out this year, go to my website and let me know what you think. One last thing before we close up today. I'm trying to draw more and more attention to the Soul Gym community, and I would love your help. Please share this with someone. If you are watching this on YouTube, like it. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to like it, to favorite it, but share it with someone else that you think might benefit from this information, from this community, and from the practices and the discussions that we have here. It is my joy, as always, to connect with you, to practice with you, and to be in the Soul Gym with you. I wish you a wonderful day. Peace and blessings. Thanks for listening to the Soul Gym podcast. I hope that something in here spoke to your mind, to your body, and your spirit today. If you're interested in exploring ways to get one-on-one support, attend classes, or other workshops and events, please go to revdarrelljones.com. Peace and blessings to you.